Actress Gabourey Sidibe was talking about confidence and how she feels so confident about herself during a recent awards ceremony. It was the Gloria Awards and Gala at the Miss Foundation, or thrown together by the Miss Foundation, rather. And she gave a really inspiring speech. She sort of talked about how a lot of reporters will ask her, "How are you so confident? Why are you so confident?" And she made a point about how people never ask people like Rihanna that question because they're conventionally beautiful. And she also shared a lot about her personal life and what it was like to grow up as a black woman who's overweight. And here's a little piece of her speech that I want to read to you guys. She said, "If I hadn't been told I was garbage, I wouldn't have learned how to show people I'm talented. And if everyone had always laughed at my jokes, I wouldn't have figured out how to be so funny. If they hadn't told me I was ugly, I never would have searched for my beauty. And if they hadn't tried to break me down, I wouldn't know that I'm unbreakable. So when you ask me how I'm so confident, I know what you're really asking me. How could someone like me be so confident? Go ask Rihanna, asshole." So that was a really interesting way of reacting to some of the terrible things that she had to deal with when she was younger. And, you know, being told that you're ugly and fat is something that could really break you down unless you're resilient. And I want to know what you guys think. Whitney, make your point.
Okay. I think I'm going to get some backlash for this, but I'm going to be honest. I think that Gabourey is an amazing, beautiful person, and she deserves every ounce of confidence she has, for sure, and I love her speech. My concern is that I think she should also talk about start getting healthy. I think that that's a huge problem within you know, youth and within the African American community, and I think that also is something that needs to be discussed. I just want to make sure she's not hiding behind this false sense of confidence while kind of, you know, not acknowledging her health.
All right, fair enough. John?
So I think that we may be going through like the last gasp of this really strong pushback against fat people. And the reason I say that is because we are losing the war against the food that we are consuming. And the human body is resilient in a lot of ways, but it is not resilient enough to stand up to the carbs and the sugar and the processed foods and the easy access to high calorie foods and the fat and all of that. That will win the war, and when we get over a certain tipping point and everyone is obese, I don't think it's going to be as in style to mock them.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. You know, considering the event and how, you know, it was about discussing confidence and how people can feel better about themselves, I can totally understand the context of her speech. I can understand the message that she's trying to send out there. And there are a ton of people out there that might look overweight, but they're actually completely healthy. But I do think it is important, as Whitney mentioned, to talk about health in America, talk about the obesity epidemic, and not pretend as though we have no issue or no problem with that. So the question here is, have you ever been told by someone growing up that you're either fat or ugly, and how did you react? John, I'll start with you.
Yeah, actually. So I was never good with women all throughout elementary school, high school. Eventually, when I got into college, my first semester, I had a girlfriend. And at this point, I was the same height I am now, but I was about 170 pounds. And like many college freshmen do, I quickly put on about 35 pounds because there were all like the food that you could have as much as you want. And eventually she broke up with me and she said that that was why. In her defense, I gained a lot of weight, but that did, like, I had never struggled, like I knew that I wasn't very attractive, but I'd never struggled with like a manifestation of it like that. And so that was pretty hard. It took a while to like recover from that.
So what was your reaction to it? You just kind of...
I became a vegetarian and I lost 35 pounds over the course of the next 6 months. I wasn't any healthier, but I was much, much skinnier.
And did you go to her and say, "What now, bitch"? Which
no,
is what
I'm a nice guy.
You are a nice guy.
We're still kind of friends.
Whitney, what about you?
You know, growing up, I kind of was like the defender of the people that were bullied. You know, like I would approach the bullies and, you know, kind of get the people that were made fun of back. You know, and so I never really faced those bullyings myself because I would kick their asses basically. But in my older age, when The Real L Word came out and pictures came out of me when it was first released, you know, everybody likes to nitpick and scrutinize, and I definitely got like comparisons to things such as Predator. You know, I mean, my hair was like an open target for being scrutinized, and I hadn't really like experienced that before. And having it done on such a large scale, you know, it's an interesting experience, and you try to push it down as much as possible. But you know, at the same time, fuck them.
Yeah, that's I love that.
Predator is
I love
awesome.
that.
Don't sweat it.
What?
Predator is awesome.
Fucking great, dude. You know,
I wish someone would compare me to fucking Predator.
Jesus, I know. It could have been compared to something worse.
Well, I mean, it's funny because online there'll be a number of people that say really nice things about my appearance, and then there'll be people that say terrible things about my appearance on a daily basis. And I guess the only way you can really deal with it is to have a thicker skin and just take what people say about your physical appearance with a grain of salt. Growing up, I had a pretty large nose, and that was something that I was always really insecure about. Bullies would always pick on that. I remember one time we had an awards assembly at school, and when I went up to go get my award, the 3 bullies that were making my life a living hell all stood up and they went like this to make it seem like, you know, I have this huge nose.
Guys?
And then they're girls, 3 girls. And then they started bowing as I was accepting my award. And it was embarrassing because like the entire school was there. But you know what? It actually made me a lot stronger. So I really relate to Gabourey in her speech. And just feel good about yourself. Don't let people tear you down, because the reason why they're doing it is because they feel shitty about themselves. Tell us what you guys think. Have you ever been harassed for the way you look? We want to hear your stories.